In today's video, I will be ranking every quest pack Fortnite skin. So just to be clear what exactly these skins are, they come in those bundles that allow you to earn extra V-Bucks by completing quests. So for example, the newest one is the Afterburn skin. But remember, for this ranking, this is just going to be my opinion. So be sure to let me know yours down in the comments below. If you enjoy my videos, be sure to use code TuneSpider in the Fortnite item shop to support me. And now let's get to ranking. Okay, so I'm going to start with the Fallen Love Ranger skin. This was actually the first quest pack skin we ever got in the game. And it's pretty cool because he is part of the Dark series, and I honestly think it's a good skin. I really like the Dark series colors and patterns on this skin. I think it looks pretty cool. The horns is a nice detail, and the mix of pink and purple helps the skin pop a little bit. And I've always liked the statue design to this skin. So in my opinion, I think this is a good skin with some good detail. So I'm going to be putting him into the A tier. Then up next is Inferno, and this is a really cool skin. This is a different take on the wildcard skin. Of course, we have a simple but clean red and black suit, but the best part is easily the mask with the flame effect coming off the back of the head. We have this dark red mask with yellow eyes, and as you can see with the fire effect, that the back of the mask of course is melted with flames coming out the back. That also wraps to his neck. I think this is a really cool design for this type of skin. It's a little simple but very well done, so I'm going to be putting him into the peak tier. Then moving on to Breakpoint. Now I just want to say right off the bat, I think this is one of the best quest pack skins that we've ever gotten. I love the holographic design to this skin. The glitch effect that it has is really cool, and I like the colors as well. This is sort of a small detail, but one of my favorite parts is definitely the boots. I love how those look. The eyes look really cool. It's tactical, but it's creative. I think it's a great skin for Fortnite, so I'm going to be putting her into the peak tier. Then next up is P1000. So I think this is a pretty funny skin, and I do like the callback to the Chapter 1 Season 9 trailer with the fact that Peely was turned into a smoothie. And I talked about this in my ranking every Peely skin. I'm not the biggest fan of it though, even though I do like that callback. I feel like the easiest way to describe it is this skin just really isn't for me. This isn't one of my favorite Peely designs. I don't really like this robotic look, so I'm going to be putting him into the C tier. Only reason he didn't go in D is because of the callback to the trailer. I think that's really fun. Then moving on to Bassassin. So basically this is Fishstick as a spy, and I think it's awesome. It's a very simple skin, but I love the James Bond vibe to it. I don't know why, but him not wearing a hat looks pretty funny. You can have the sunglasses on or off. You get this simple black tux that looks pretty good. I think this is a good design for Fishstick. Love the play on words for the name, so I'm going to be putting him into the S tier. Then moving on to Derby Dynamo, and I think she's a very unique skin. And one of the big reasons for that is the fact that she has rollerblades instead of just normal shoes. I'm pretty sure that was the first time that we had seen that in the game. You also get 3 different styles with her, which is cool. You get this original black and white style with some shotgun shells strapped to her. You get the black and white checkered look. She's got a tactical vest on. I think this one is pretty good. Minty Dynamo, you get a little more color. You get some green, you get some pink, you get some blue, and I think it goes well for the skin. The design is the same as the one before. Then you have Flame and Dynamo, so you have the fire effect. She has a tail. I think this is definitely the best style for her. I also like the helmet and the fact that there's spikes on the top. Overall, I think all 3 styles are well done. Like I mentioned, I think she's a unique skin. I'm going to be putting her into the S tier. Then moving on to Marigold. Just want to say right off the bat, I love this skin, and I think she definitely deserves reskins. Hopefully we get the one from the surveys. But as far as this design, I love the spy look. I think it looks really good. You also get the gold reactivity for her, which of course just makes complete sense. But something that's unique about this skin is she has the Phantom Code style. So she has this blue digital look for her outfit, blue glowing eye with the blue scar and some blue in her hair. I really like this style. This is actually my favorite for her. There's some really good detail to her skin. It's pretty simple, but it matches up well with like Midas, for example. So when it comes to Marigold, I'm going to be putting her into the peak tier. The next up is Lyra, and this was like an original take on Medusa in Fortnite, I believe. And I feel like it's pretty obvious because you have the snake hair, and then you have this shirt that says Stonesy, which I think is pretty funny. I love the play on words there, and the design of turning Jonesy into stone. I think that's pretty funny. The outfit is pretty simple. There's nothing crazy to it. She does have the Sidewinder style, which I think is definitely better because of the blue, like the blue hair, the blue eyes, the blue markings on her shirt and on her body. I think this is definitely a better look for her compared to the base design, but this skin isn't amazing in my opinion. I think it's just solid, so I'm going to be putting her into the B tier. Then moving on to Ruby Shadows. I mean, Ruby skins are always simple. They have the athletic design, and that's no different for this skin. We have the black and white outfit, but what's cool about the shadow design is the glowing white eyes, the glowing white effect on the outfit. It helps the skin stand out and pop just a little bit more, and I think athletic looking skins can look pretty good in Fortnite, and I think that's the case for Ruby, especially the shadow design, so I'm going to be putting her into the A tier. Then next up is Vox Hunter, and I think he's a very unique skin. You technically get two different styles with him, or at least two different colors because of the reactivity, how the main color can be orange or it can be red. I think the design is pretty creative, especially for a Fox Clan skin. Definitely doesn't look like the others in any way. And even though I think he's pretty unique and creative, this skin just really isn't for me. I'm not the biggest fan of it, so I'm going to be putting him into the C tier. Then next up is Driftwalker, and this is one of my favorite Drift skins. This is one of my favorite Fortnite skins. I think Drift as a vampire is a really cool concept, and I love all three styles for this skin. The wide eyes, the pointy ears, how he turns more into a vampire with each style, and this like black reactivity effect that goes over his shirt, and his arms look pretty cool. Overall, I'm definitely a fan of this skin. I'm going to be putting him into the peak tier. Up next is Mina, and she's a pretty simple skin, but I like her design. I like that she has some of like the raven design and detail to her, like the feathers on the hips, around the neck, and at the top of her head. I also really like the combination of the mask and the helmet design up top. The purple tattoos look really cool. Overall, I like the outfit. I just think this is a really good skin. I think it would have been cool for her to get a second style, but I do think this base one is really good, so I'm going to be putting her into the S tier. Then up next is Guardian Amara, and I love the design and detail to this skin and the thought put into the theme. Her base style is pretty good. Really like the gold and black color scheme. I like the outfit design. The spikes look pretty cool, but my favorite part is definitely the second style where the dragon scales become her skin. I think that looks so cool, and I really like the face restructure as well. I think it looks sick with the black eyes. I think this is a great design for the protector of the island's ancient temples, and like I mentioned, I love the detail and the thought put into the theme of this skin. Overall, I think it's really well done, so I'm going to be putting her into the S tier. Then moving on to Tectonic Complex. Now, even though she didn't come with V-Bucks, she was technically a quest pack, so I will be counting her in the video. And she's part of the lava series as well. And I do like her skin. It's pretty simple, but I like the lava effect, especially on the mask and the hair. I think it looks really cool. The design is nothing crazy. It's just like the other complex skin. And from what I've seen, there's no other style for her as well. So I'm going to be putting her into the B tier. I think it's a solid skin. Not my favorite, but I don't think it's terrible. Then next up is Slayer Charlotte, and this is definitely my favorite Charlotte skin. I think this one looks so cool. Love the color scheme. Really like the outfit. I think the scales on the armor look really cool. Then of course the second style, we have the glowing green eyes, and the markings on her arms start to light up. I think both styles look great. They go well for this character, so I'm going to be putting this into the peak tier. Then next up is Vivica Saint, and I do like this skin. I like the idea of like this vampire attending academy. I like the outfit. I think it looks pretty good, and I do think the story between her and her sister is very interesting. I would love to know more about it. The only thing I don't like about the skin though is the hair. I wish they picked a different hairstyle for her. Everything else I really like. It's pretty simple. There's no other style to her right now, so I'm going to be putting her into the A tier. Then next up is Lummy Jelly, and I do think this is a pretty solid meme skin. I like the black and white with the different colors for the color scheme for the skin, but I will admit I'm not like huge on the jelly skins. Like it's not my favorite meme skin by any means, but I do think it's alright, so I'm going to be putting him into the B tier. Then we have Isaac Clarke, a Gaming Legends series skin actually, which I think is pretty cool as a quest pack. I would love to see them do more of this with the different series, and I think this is just a spot on skin for Isaac Clarke. Love the armor. Love the glowing blue. Overall, I just think it looks great in Fortnite, so I'm going to be putting him into the S tier. Then up next we have Anaconda. Love the play on words for the theme. Love that the skin matches the theme. Not the biggest fan of snakes, not gonna lie, but I do like the design for the skin, and I like that her design matches it. Like for example, the snake in the hair, the green and black looks really good, especially really like the boots, one being green, one being black. You can see snake designs on her arms and in her shirt. There's a lot going on for the skin, and sometimes I don't like that, but in this case I do. The only thing I wish is they would have just stuck with everything being more green and black. Not the biggest fan of like the purple being randomly thrown in there, for example, but other than that, I think it's a well-designed skin that goes well with the theme. I'm going to be putting her into the S tier. Then up next is Underworld Desdemona, and what a great skin. I love the blue. I think it looks really good, and then the brighter blue markings all over the body really help the skin pop. The horns look really cool. Overall, a big fan of the skin. It's pretty simple, but I think it looks really cool, and she's a great skin for the winter as well. Really matches up for like Winterfest, for example, so I'm going to be putting her into the S tier. Then next up is Court Queen Orisa. This is a different take on the Orisa skin, and I like this one. I like the tennis look to her. Like I mentioned earlier, the athletic skins can look pretty cool in the game. Like the theme, I think it goes very well for her. She's got multiple styles. Both of them are pretty simple, but they look good. Overall, I think it's a good cell shaded skin, so I'm going to be putting her into the A tier. Then next up is Retro Zoe Clash. Not as big on this one as I was on Orisa. I do think it looks pretty good. I think my biggest thing is I'm not the biggest fan of the outfit, but I could definitely see people really liking it. I think it's just one of those instances where it's not for me, but I do think the cell shading is well done. I think there's some good detail to the outfit though, and to the skin overall. So I'm going to be putting her into the B tier. Then up next is Void Warrior Absence. And I think this is a really cool skin. Love the blue effect on the arms and the electricity coming off the mask. I think that looks really sick, especially the eyes. The outfit is pretty cool. Not my favorite by any means. I feel like the tactical vest isn't really needed. And you get a second style with the skin and it's just the mask off. I prefer the mask on when it comes to both of these styles. But overall, there's some great detail. Love the blue effect. I think it looks really cool. The electricity. So I'm going to be putting the skin in the A tier. Then next up is Harpy Haze. I just want to say I love that Haze got a Harpy style. I think it looks really cool. Haze really has some of the best reskins, to be honest, and I do think this is one of them. I think the Harpy design is perfect. I really like the feathers on the arms, the shoulders, the bottom of the legs. The outfit looks really good. Love the big hat with the horns, and the black and pink color scheme is just perfect for Haze. So I'm going to be putting her skin into the peak tier. Then next up is Mineta Hikuru. My bad if I pronounced that wrong. This is actually the newest member for the High Stakes Club, which I think is pretty cool, so he gets a little bit of a bonus for that. I think his Oni mask looks sick. Other than that, not the biggest fan of his design. I do think the jacket looks pretty cool. The belt is pretty sick. Other than that, it's just alright for me. I will say he gets a big bonus for the mask. I think it looks really cool. I'm going to be putting this skin into the A tier. Then next up is Juliet, and honestly this skin just isn't for me. I think she has some really good detail, and I think she matches up the theme pretty well, like the hearts on the knees for example. But other than that, just not the biggest fan of the design or the detail, so I'm going to be putting her into the C tier. Then next up is Afterburn, our newest quest pack skin. Love the fact that we got another Supernova Academy hero, and of course the design is pretty simple. I mean, this is basically their version of the Human Torch. The fire effect looks really good. The suit looks cool, so I'm going to be putting him into the A tier. But there you have it. That is my ranking for all of the quest pack Fortnite skins. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to join my Discord server, that link is going to be in the description. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Peace.